Torghast is amazing once again, cause no more timers. And fire mages get big changes to ignite and a brand new talent maybe? Ardenwealed is hauntingly beautiful and unlimited wings for paladins await us in Torghast. This, plus more, in On Cooldown, your weekly WoW news show.
Hello there, we are Marcelian Online and we do class guides and WoW news on a weekly basis, and if you're into that, be sure to drop us a like and maybe throw a comment.
Yeah man, it really helps out massively. And now, on with the show!
Ah yes, Fire Mage Ignite spread has been finally addressed. If you missed the ball, in the initial alpha iteration, Fire Blast would also be used to manually spread Ignite, since outside that Ignite would not spread, at least judging by the tooltips. That posed a lot of issues for Fire's rotation, since with the loss of Memory of Lucid Dreams and the Mechagon Bracers, you had a reduced amount of Fire Blast considerably baked into Combustion. And the fact that you would need to save a Fire Blast charge to spread Ignite at the end of Combustions gave players a very bitter taste towards their rotation and performance during the said cooldown. The new change actually fixes almost all of these issues, at least at a first glance, and from what we have been able to test. Phoneix Flames has taken the role of Ignite spread while becoming baseline for Fire and retaining its initial functions. First off, finally! God damn it man, Fire Mages have felt empty ever since they had to choose between this and Flame On, and with how strong Flame On was so far in the last few years, this entire talent row was dead, with no real options to choose between. Phoneix Flames is instant and contributes to hot streaks, meaning two things. It can fill in the lack of Fire Blast you have coming into Shadowlands, and potentially work even better if the new talent, currently absent, that you will have in its place would force you to go away from Flame On. Granted, it's on the GCD, but still, between the 3 charges of Fire Blast and 2 of Phoneix Flames, Combustion feels much better than without. It's still not the same fluid version of the BFA version that makes Fire Mage such a powerhouse, but it's better than what we had up until today. And at the end of the day, we have Phoneix Flames back as a new button to the rotation and to press. Not only that, it deals its AoE crit damage and spreads Ignite. I feel like this is a better version than before for Fire Mage. And if this makes it so Phoneix Flames can stop being a talent and become baseline again, then I'm all for it. And again, with this argument, I think all legendary abilities from Legion should make it baseline to specs once again. So far, I was able to test the Ignite spread while questing, since everyone and their mom is in Ardenwealed right now and not queuing for any dungeons. Once you get a fat mob that won't die instantly, spreading Ignite seems satisfying, and I'm a strong advocate of player agency and giving us more control over different aspects of our spec. Aspects such as spreading Ignite, instead of, it being random. The change is also very reassuring. The devs are, once again, clearly listening to the feedback, however long it takes to implement the changes. Granted, there are a lot of things to work on currently in the alpha, especially with the addition of Ardenwealed, but it's nice to see this implemented, and hopefully we can get some proper reworks for Shadow Priest and some polishing for Elemental. I'm actually interested to know how this will feel in properly scaled content, such as higher mythic keys, where the packs will be bigger and live longer. As with most AoE abilities, the targets it will spread to are capped or is capped at a total of 8, which should not be surprising. However, with the dungeons scaling proportionally with player power, again looking at you Mythic Plus, then the 8 targets max will be a non-issue with the current dungeon design where the density is already scarce.
Torghast is great! And I must be the first to tell you this, right? You're hearing this for the first time, but Torghast is literally an amazing piece of content that will await you in Shadowlands. You couldn't really understand the reasoning behind Blizzard placing those soft timers to prevent the so-called degenerate gameplay, and they're gone, no more, that's it. And boy is this a relief, not only for the core concept of Torghast, but also for the sheer fact that they're actually taking in your feedback and making changes. It's so weird to be happy about this because it should be the norm, right? Anyways, the torments still exist, but they are no longer time related in any way, but rather they kind of act like affixes. Basically, after you clear a couple of floors, and start to become an unstoppable killing machine, the torments will start adding up with each floor like an affix. For example, while steaming with my Paladin, I got the Fracturing Forces torment stacked 3 times close to me ending the run with the 18th floor. This summons a Shade Stalker every 30 seconds when you're out of combat, and to be fair, you won't be threatened by this dude since, okay, at 3 stacks he has 30% increased health, but his damage is meh, and you are already a god by that time. Well, at least I was, but we'll get to Paladin Torghast in a bit later in the video. This one is just an example. There are also torments like Might of the Upper Reaches, which will increase the physical damage enemies deal by 3% stacking with each floor. Same thing with Mortigar's Echoes, a similar torment but this time increasing the magic damage. Breath of the Coldheart will increase mobs' maximum health by 5% and so on. You'd be right to notice that this change actually fixes 2 issues with Torghast. First was obviously the soft timers, and second is that feeling that after 5 or 6 floors, all those anima powers you gathered transform you into a ridiculous version of your spec, making higher floors more easy to the point that it can become boring. Now this is a very thin line because we all love to be literal gods, like Flame is with his virginity, but too much of that and the challenge is gone, so these torments still need a lot of tuning to make higher floors more and more challenging while maintaining your ever-growing sense of power. Did I mention that Torghast is amazing? Ha! Listen, I never truly went in there too much since the alpha started because, as you well know, here at Marcelian Online, we focus a lot on specs and classes to bring you solid info for you to use in your future dungeons and raids and so on. Yesterday, I tested my Paladin with a strict agenda to get footage and test shit out for the video from today. 4 hours in and I still wanted more. You see, in your first couple of runs on Torghast, you will have this big itch to try new builds and discover new anima powers. And this will fade away eventually, sure. But then you have to remember that Torghast will provide you with the legendary materials needed for, well, your legendaries. And that ties in directly into the other main content. So it's a pretty nice circle of a fun feature you can run for just for fun and cosmetics, while also providing you the incentive to do it. Well, it's kind of mandatory in order to get your stuff for legendaries, but you get where I'm coming from, right? There's a lot of promise with this expansion, and sure, a lot of the specs need much more love, but if there's one thing you should really be excited about, that, my friend, is Torghast.
And in today's comment of the day, we have SM Elmistry, and he said,
"Proud member of the wheelchair club, crack me up, huh?"
What's so funny about that, man? You have to take these things seriously. Wait! I'm gonna catch you! Man, fuck you. Your mother's an astronaut.
My mother was too drunk to be an astronaut.
Quick disclaimer, if you don't like fairies and cutesy things, then you will probably still like Ardenwealed because goddamn, it's the prettiest thing I have ever seen. We covered the Mists of Tirna some time ago, and the zone is pretty much that, scaled a bit higher. I was a bit worried it would feel like Val Sharaf from Legion, and although some similarities are obvious, it feels nothing like the Legion zone. First off, the skybox is enough to take you out of any immersion you previously were in from playing any other WoW zone in its history. It feels like it's an endless forest, both on a horizontal scale and a vertical one. There isn't a lot of verticality in the terrain as it was like in, Zuldazar or Argus, but you do climb a bit and go down a bit. The questline is almost what you think it will be in the grand scale of things. Anima powers being stolen by the Maw, and the forests suffer because of it. So certain generic conflicts are there, but the details will most likely not be something you will expect, and I'm not going to spoil it for you. The NPCs have a lot of personality, which I am 110% behind. Bastion was pretty much bland in terms of their NPCs and a little bit generic, same as Revendreth that was standard. Ardenwealed though takes that to the next level and sprinkles a lot of fun dialogue and quests that take you every now and again through unexpected twists and turns. It's still WoW at the end of the day, and an MMO to boot. You still collect things and kill other things up to the required number. But that doesn't feel bad at all, at least so far. Other than this, in terms of animations, textures and so on, ardenwealed seems to be the richest when it comes to these effects. So far, they outclass both Revendreth and Bastion by a mile, and the ardenwealed Covenant abilities are clearly the flashiest. And I said it before, the color palette choice gives this a beautiful, cold feel to it. Like the dev said, if the Emerald Dream represented spring and summer, ardenwealed is clearly autumn and winter. All in all, I have been continuously surprised by the zones, ardenwealed especially, in how each of them surpassed my expectations, both in story, characters and atmosphere, and work towards building some high hopes for Shadowlands.
High hopes for your mama! No, but seriously, Paladins can now run Torghast, and it is the most fun you can have with a red, since Wrath of the Lich King cast sequences macros where you spam one button containing Judgment, Crusader Strike, and Divine Storm. Yeah, red used to be face roll. It's been 10 years since then. Get over it. Right from the back, you will notice that there are a couple of anima powers that can lead you to different types of builds. One would be built around Hammer of Wrath, having it deal more damage or adding to it a chance to Hammer of Justice your target, or empowering your next holy power spender by 100%. But you know what is every Paladin's wet dream? Non-stop wings, baby! And yes, similar to Shamans and Mages, Bloodlust and Timor builds, we can work out a build that will eventually net us a very big time for Avenging Wrath. And this is what yours truly went for. Wing Medallion is the name of the anima power you want. It will give you 30 seconds of wings once you enter a new floor. And obviously this will stack. I mean, I got to a point where a new floor meant 2 minutes of Avenging Wrath. It's just a thing of beauty. People should make paintings about this. Now, on top of this, there's also a Hammer of Wrath anima power called Badge of the Mad Paragon, and it will enable your Hammer of Wrath to extend Avenging Wrath by 4 seconds. So you can forget everything about the red priority, because once you have this plus winged medallions, you will always have a numero uno priority to hit Hammer of Wrath. Truth be told, I only played as red in Torghast, but I can imagine similar levels of fun for Prot and Holy. But Paladin anima powers aside, we also got Covenant ability animas this time around, which can work for some other amazing builds as well. Again, this is the thing about Torghast that will grab you at the start. You just want to try new builds every time, and it's fun and rewarding too. Playing Torghast all night long, playing Torghast while I sing this song. Man, Torghast is fucking great. I know I said this a million times, you probably heard it for the first time on this channel, and I did mention it in both of my pieces on cooldown.
Yep.
But I didn't ever play Torghast that way. Then the thing about getting some footage and testing out and, you know, making the research for everything that happened turned into like 4 to 5 hours of non-stop Torghast.
Yeah, I was
actually
looking at it, I was like, is he still playing Torghast?
Oh, that's from here, but at home.
Oh, you even did that out.
It carried on. Yeah, we didn't do arenas yesterday, remember?
Oh, that's what you were doing, motherfucker.
I was researching.
Torghast seems like what I'm gonna do now. Nobody's online, let's just play Torghast.
Yes. Also,
well, you know that last week we kind of, you know, skipped on the episode of On Cooldown, but we did want to mention the June the 9th announcement that Blizzard has kind of hinted that we're gonna have. So we don't know, but we are keen on speculating.
Yeah, I mean, this should be big. It's Ian Hazekostas and John White, and big fucking figures from the WoW team, like the biggest, you know, the big heads, the tentacly. What am I going with this?
Yeah, we got it. Big heads, big announcement. Now, this is strictly related to Shadowlands. They did say that it's going to be a Shadowlands announcement.
Yes.
Now, I personally thought instantly, like, oh, this is the release date. But, I mean, I don't know if it's going to be the release date. I actually hope it's not, because, I mean, that's a boring announcement. Thinking that we were not going to have BlizzCon this year. Maybe this is gonna take place instead of that, like a big announcement, maybe some big features?
Could be. Well, it's a lot of room to speculate on what they're gonna announce. We don't want to get too overhyped about this.
Yeah.
It's obviously, I can personally believe that it will be the release date, one thing, but do you need a super hyped up PR managed event only for the release date?
No,
I doubt it. I think there's more to come, and if I would had a lot of money, I would bet that money on the announcement that they're dropping the GCD system.
Wow. Holy shit. Now, dude, that's like bigger than an expansion announcement. What the
At
fuck?
this point, it is.
Oh, Jesus Christ. After playing stuff like Unholy and BM Hunter, like pressing 10 abilities before the rotation, is like, oh my god, that sounds so good.
Yes. It's something that I would be happy. I'm pretty sure a lot of you would also be happy for them to announce. It would be a huge PR win for them, because at this point, if they reacted to the Torghast feedback on timers, which was only the people that were in the alpha, not a big voice, not a big, but not a big number of voices.
I think.
Why would they not react to a much larger group of voices when talking about the GCD?
They did address Titan Forging after specifically said that they want Titan Forging in the game, and then they did a 180. It's like, yeah, we don't want Titan Forging in the game, so I wouldn't be too surprised about the GCD. I would be very happily surprised.
Yeah, it's a big speculation.
But I was thinking, like, even that, like, with the amount of feedback that they give on the forums and builds, I think they're gonna announce Arthas.
Oh shit! How? Why?
Well, think about it. Legion came after WoD after a big toilet of an expansion, and with Illidan, one of the biggest poster boys.
Yeah.
Now we're coming after BFA, which is at least, publicly even more negatively seen than WoD. Like, what one character can save can bring back the hype, if not Arthas.
Arthas is,
and it's Shadowlands.
Oh yeah. It would make sense for a lot of fucking reasons.
But I personally think that you cannot really do Shadowlands without talking about Arthas, because if you remember after Northrend, after Sylvanas, thrown herself off the Ice Crown, she reached a point in the afterlife, which we didn't know at the time was Shadowlands, and she saw Arthas there, right?
I don't remember.
Or she was told that Arthas is doomed for eternity into damnation and stuff like that, and that's the Maw.
She got some info regarding Arthas too.
So I'm keeping my money on Arthas.
Okay, it's obviously some wild speculation. Let's just stop it here. What do you think?
Yeah,
what do you think they will say on the 9th of June regarding Shadowlands? Do you think it's gonna be some lore shit type like Arthas, like Flame mentioned, or do you think it's gonna be something more system-wise, mechanic-wise, than release dates and all of that shit? Let us know in the comments. We're really curious on this one. And with that, we're curious about thanking our Patreons, but we're not that curious. We're convinced that we're taking our Patreons. Thank you so much, guys, for all of your support month by month. You make all of this possible, and we have no more words. It's just...
You have to appreciate the segue, you gotta be honest. Yeah. It was a really strongly forced segue. But yeah, we do gratefully appreciate all of the support that you guys are giving us, both on Patreon and our stream on twitch.tv/Marcelian Online, because we do stream, and lately we've been streaming a lot more Shadowlands because we kind of finished the class guides for 8.3, which is we can finally do Shadowlands. You can catch us there. And thank you for watching the video. Hope you enjoyed it. Wish you guys have a lovely weekend.
Lovely.
Take care.
Amazing.
See you next one.
See you next one again.
See you in the next one. No, I didn't say it. Fuck.
Bye.
You are